Hello everyone, welcome to another video on Spark. In this video, we'll be seeing how to work with JSON in PySpark the right way. So have you seen a JSON structure like this in your analysis and you thought how I'll extract value from this? Then join me in this session where we talk about how to deal with JSON in PySpark the right way. So after learning JSON processing in this video, you can go from this to this. You'll be able to process JSON data at scale and get valuable insights from your data using Spark powerful API. So agenda for this video. First of all, we'll understand why we need to deal with JSON in Spark. We'll see different types of JSON functions. We'll see like how to deal with nested struct types. So basically whenever you're dealing with a lot of complex JSON schema, you need to know like how to create the struct types. So with this, let's jump on the video. So first we need to see like why do we even need to deal with JSON data in PySpark. So if you see the first point, you're trying to analyze clickstream data in real-time streaming. So in most of the cases in real-time streaming, you get data from the operation systems mainly on JSON data format. So you should know like how to deal with JSON data to get real-time insights from clickstream data, right? Or else if you want to analyze any operation system data which is stored in JSON format. And JSON format is a very popular data exchange format. So you should know like how to deal with it, right? And if you want to analyze any IoT real-time data feed, example, analyzing sensor data coming from different feeds, right? So we'll basically say this. I have one example using sensor data where we'll be using a lot of JSON function and we'll get insights from it, right? So first thing first. So basically if you see that I have copied one JSON file name at users.json in this particular location. If you see this is a JSON file we'll have. So we'll see like first how we are reading this file, right? So this is very similar. So this is a multi-line file. So if I show you the file, so if you see this is the file it looks like this is a JSON structure. So we have different elements like this and each JSON have user details like something like user, the gender, name, location, email ID and other details, right? So this is the file. So if you see this is the file, it's a multi-line file, right? So what we are doing is like we are using the read API, we are passing multi-line as true and we are just giving the location. Then we are saying that this is a JSON file, you read it. So if you do a display on top of it, if you see this is how the JSON will look like. Okay, so in previous step we have directly read one JSON file. In this we'll create that JSON using Spark create a data frame API, right? So if you see that I did not do anything, I just copied the same JSON as a different element. So basically this will be a array of tuples, right? Each tuple has one ID and this is just the string format of the JSON, like just a string JSON, right? Similarly you have different rows altogether. So if I just do create data frame, I am naming the first column as user ID and the different second column is user details, right? So if I just do display on the JSON file, this is how it looks like. So if we see clearly, user ID is a ID, right? This is a number and user details, this is a JSON string. This is not a simple like any struct type which you can get access to any elements, right? This is a string, right? Similarly for different rows, it's the same structure, right? Now I have a task that I have to prepare a report from this user data which should have the user ID, name and gender, right? So if we see clearly, I cannot access directly, right? I cannot access the gender, I cannot access the name directly because this is a string type. I will not be able to do any operation on top of it. I have to do I have to apply a lot of regular expression and find this string from this particular whole string, right? I don't want to do that. So Spark provides a lot of helpful API that you can use to extract this. One of them is get JSON object. Now let's see what is the usage of this get JSON object. Okay, so if you see that it extracts a JSON object from the path, right? If you see the signature, it takes a expression and it takes a path. Expression is nothing but a string expression containing well from JSON. So it takes the JSON as a string, right? And it accepts the path. I'll show you like what is this path. So it's a string path that you have to provide, right? Now let's see like how to use this. So basically my task is to select the user ID, username, gender. Like how we can do that. So first let's select the JSON data frame, right? Okay, this is caps JSON data frame. Okay, so I'm selecting the user ID first, right? Because this is my requirement. So if you see the user ID coming from one of the column, right? Now what I want to do, I want to use this function get JSON object, right? Now what it takes an expression. Expression is from which JSON string column you want to extract the elements, right? So if you see this is the column from where we want to extract it, right? So basically I'll provide that, right? I'll provide the JSON details and the path is, so this is small, and the path is, you have to pass the path like this $.name. So let me give it a alias. I want to give the alias as name, right? And if you see that what I am telling is from this JSON give me the value from the name. So if I show you this right, so if you see this is a JSON and what I am saying is from this JSON give me the name. So you have to provide something like this $.name, right? I hope that you understood this. Similarly for other things, right, I have to get the gender also. So I'll do something like gender, right? Even if you see gender is also coming from this, right? You can do something like gender. So if I run this, you'll see this will be extracted. And suppose if I want to do some display, I can do that, right? So if you see this will be extracted and I'll give this name as alias as name and gender, right? So if you see clearly, I have extracted the name part. So if you see here, name has some elements, right? It has some title, first name, last name, right? Suppose I want to extract the first name from this, right? How I can do that? So that's where you can do something like, if you can do like, you do a display, right? You select the JSON data frame, right? You select the user ID. Suppose I want to get the user ID as well, right? And you need to do get JSON object. You pass the user details, and what you need to pass, you need to pass a path here, right? That's how you can do is like you can pass $.name, and if you see that first name comes under name, right? So all you have to do is after this you have to do dot first, and you can give this a name as first name. Okay. So if you see now, your first name have been extracted from user details. So this is a very handy API that Spark provides. Basically you have to provide the JSON string and you have to provide the path, like what you want to extract. I hope that you understood this one. So there is one more way to do the same, that is called as usage of JSON tuple, right? Basically it returns multiple JSON objects as a tuple. It takes two argument JSON string and you can provide the path like this, right? So now I want to extract the email and gender. All I have to do is I have to provide from which column I want to extract it and what are the elements that I want to extract, right? I want to extract email and gender. then I'm just giving it as a alias, because this will be created as a new column, right? I want to give it some name that will be extracted as email and gender. So if we see that we did some display and that have been shown like this, right? So the email and the gender have been extracted. Okay, so if we see, now we have a task that we have to convert this string JSON to struct value. So if we see that this is just a string, right? But I want to convert in a struct, because then I want to do some manipulation on top of it, right? How I can do that? That's when you will use from JSON, right? So from JSON takes three arguments: JSON string, schema, and options, right? JSON string is nothing but a well formatted JSON string. Schema you have to provide in terms of struct type, because I'll be showing you like how to create this schema, and there are different options. So this is a little advanced option that you might not be using in all the cases, but if you want to know more, you can go to this particular link and you can know like how to use this option. But most of the cases you might not need this option at all, right? Now let's see like how to use from JSON. So to do that, if we see that we have to provide the JSON string and we have to provide the schema, right? Now let's see how to do this schema. So basically if you see, this is the JSON string that we have, right? From that we want to get some of the details, right? Basically we want to get the gender, we want to get the name, we want to get the title, and we want to get the first name, right? So we want to just select this one. For now we want to convert this JSON string to struct type, right? How we can do that? So we can create a struct type. So if you see, gender is a string type. I think I have already discussed this in very much details, like how to provide the schema in struct type, struct field, and also map type, array type. You can watch my previous video, that will give you a whole picture like how to provide the schema. That will be very helpful for you, right? So once you watch this, please come back here so it will be easier for you to understand, right? So if you see that first this gender is a string type, but if you see this name is a struct type because it has some elements, right? So if you see this name, I have given this as struct type, and in struct type I have two elements, right? I'm giving title as string type and first as string type, because these are all like string type values, right? So for now I'm just interested into this. In next examples we'll see like how to give the total schema, but for now to make it easier I am just extracting this part, right? So once you get the schema, basically if you see that I have just copied that schema here, what you can do is like you can just provide so I'm just selecting the user ID, I'm giving from JSON. So from this JSON I want to get the struct type, right? I'll be providing the schema and I'm just giving a alias as details. So if you just run this, you will see this has been extracted. So if you see that this has been extracted as user ID long type and details is a struct type, and in here whatever schema that we have provided, that have been extracted like this. So if we scroll down, if we see that from this JSON string, I was able to extract this as a struct type. So if you see, you can now expand this and you can see the gender is female and you have name, and in name you are extracting title and first name. So this is a very important concept that you should know from JSON. So basically you need to provide the details, like from which column you are extracting the data, and you have to provide the schema. I hope that you understand this one, because this is a very important concept. The reverse for from JSON is to JSON, right? Suppose you have a struct type and you want to convert this as a JSON string, you can use to JSON. So basically you can think of using this one, like suppose you did all your analysis, now we want to transfer this particular value to some Kafka topic, right? So Kafka accepts string values, so basically you can convert this struct type into string. Now you can just push this particular string JSON to a Kafka topic. So that's one of the example. There could be ton of example that you can use to JSON, right? So this is very simple. You can provide some expression and there are different options that you can provide on to JSON, right? So basically if you see that this is we have extracted previously, right? So this is a struct type, right? Now we want to convert it as a JSON string. So what you can do is like you can just do JSON string, you provide which column you want to convert to a JSON string and you give some alias. That's it. So if you see, this has been converted as a JSON string. So this is very easy, right? Okay. Now let's see what is nested structures. So if you see in a previous example, we have seen some of the simplest structure in JSON, but not all the times you will get this simple structure. So you might get a very nested structure where this nested structure may have maps as well as a nested JSON, right? Let's see how to deal with it. Okay, so this example I have taken from Databricks because I felt like that's a very interesting one and I took the reference from that, right? So let's see this how this sensor data looks like. If you see, this is how the sensor data will look like. You have some DC ID, data center ID, and here you have different sources, right? Sensor iGauge, sensor iPad, sensor iNAS, sensor iStick. So these are different sensors from where you are getting the data. Well, let's try to create the struct type for this, like how we can do that. Okay, let's see like how we'll create the struct type, like how we'll give the schema for it, right? So if you see clearly, I have some DC ID, data center ID, you can consider this is a string type, right? Then you have some sources like this, right? In sources you have different sources. So if I just do this, you will see you have different sources like this. If you see clearly, this is a map type because you have a key value pair, right? In the keys you have different things like sensor iGauge, sensor iPad, and you have some values. We'll see like how that value looks like. So basically what we are giving is we are giving source as map type. Map type key is a string column because these are all string columns. And if you see, if I expand this, so if you see, this is looks like a struct type, right? So we are giving the value as struct type. In struct type, you have different values like this. So we are just providing this as description as string type, IP as string type. Similarly, CO2 level is long type. If you see, CO2 level is long type. And if you see, geo is again nested, right? So we can give this geolocation as struct type again. And we can add this latitude and longitude like this, right? So this is a part of struct type. So if we see that this was a very nested structure and this is how we need to provide the schema for it, right? Only thing you need to take care of whenever struct type comes, right? You need to see like what are the element comes under this struct type. So if you see in the geo, two elements are coming, right? Latitude and longitude, right? So we are adding that as part of struct type, right? Now it's very easy. All you have to do is like, so if you see that we have just copy pasted that schema here. So now while reading this while reading the data, right, we can provide the schema on the Spark read API. So once you do that, you'll be able to read the JSON as a struct type. So if you just expand this, you will see that there are different sources coming like this, and each sources will have values like this, right? So whatever struct type you have provided, this will provide the schema accordingly. Now let's use explode function on top of it to separate different sources. So if you see now, each sources are coming inside this single row, right? Now let's do explode and let's see like how it works. So basically we are selecting the DC ID and we are exploding the source column, right? If we do that, then you will see that DC ID will remain the same, but different sensors will come as a key and all these values will come as a different column, right? Now we can do a lot of analysis on top of it. Let's see like how we are doing it, right? So now basically what we are trying to do is this. from this nested struct type, right, we have to get some values out of it, right? So how we can do that? So you first we are selecting the DC ID, right? I am selecting the key as a device type because this particular key I'm selecting as a device type, and from this nested structure as value we are selecting different columns, right? Some of the example, if you see that from value we are doing get item because this is a map type, right? Sorry, this is a struct type, so we are selecting IP and we are giving the alias like this, right? So one of the example, if you see geolocation, this is a struct type, right? So if I want to use the if I want to access the latitude or longitude, I have to use get item twice, right? So from value I have to get the geolocation, then I am selecting the latitude from here. So I hope that you understood this, like how to select different columns. Okay, now you see that this has been flattened, so from this nested struct type we are able to extract the values like this, right? Now let's see, if you see this data clearly, each row have like DCID, device type, you have different IPs, and you have CO2 level. So suppose you want to filter the CO2 level when the CO2 level is greater than 1450, right? So you might think that this particular record should be alerted, so we are giving this name as I want to do the alert on top of it. So if you see for this two record, I want to alert the user that the CO2 level is high. So this is a very normal function that we have created, that it will just send some alert by taking all these values, right? So basically to send the alert, what you can do is like you can do like alert notification, you can do for each to go for each row, then each row can be given as a send alert, right? So this will send you alert. So for now we are just doing some print statement. To say this, what you can do is in Databricks you can go to cluster details and you can go to driver logs to see what are the alerts coming. So if you see, the alert will come like action need high temperature and CO2 levels. It will provide all the data center name, what is the device name, what is the temperature, what is the device ID, and similarly other elements, right? So if you see, with this we are able to create a very sophisticated system. We are able to process the JSON data, we are able to alert the user. So this is a very useful tutorial for you to understand how to deal with JSON. So you see, if you learned how to deal with JSON in Spark, it is very easy to get insights from JSON data, even if it is a very nested in nature. I hope you learned something new today, and this video will surely help you to tackle JSON processing in PySpark. But before I end this video, I would like to request you all to like and subscribe if you're liking my videos on Spark. There are lots of exciting videos that are on pipeline, and I can't wait to share those with you all. With this, let's end this video and see you in the next video. Thank you all.